G'day guys, got a 2019 dual cab GXL Landcruiser here, and today we have installed the Bushman Roadie 12 volt fridge in the center console and the Department of Interior front console. Great bit of gear and it went in really well. Just follow the instructions and you won't have any troubles. Now, the seats. In the instructions from Department of Interior, they do mention the seat rails need to be modified to fit the seats back in. Because of the width of the fridge, it sort of just doesn't fit back in how it's supposed to be from stock. So they suggest slotting the holes, or they don't actually say what to do because they could be liable for telling people how to modify their car in that sense. So they've just basically mentioned that it has to be done. It doesn't say how, and doesn't say, you know, what to do. So I've searched the internet and the socials on other people and what they've done, and basically they've just said just hack the holes out and slot them and just put a big washer over the slot. But I don't want to do that. I want to do it properly, and I couldn't find any videos on how to do that. So this leads me to the point of making this video is I just want to do it properly, and I'm going to show you guys how. I'm not telling you that you have to do it this way, and it's at your discretion if you want to, but it's up to you, and I'm just going to make a video about it and you take what you want from it. Okay, so might as well get straight into it. The driver's seat I have back in, and I have slotted the holes about 5 mil, and I managed to first of all, I painted the bracket again because, you know, slotting the holes, you're exposing some raw steel. So I've painted the end of the brackets again and used the genuine bolts. And you can't even see that I've slotted it because I've only done it a few mil, and the seat's working perfect. The reason I've only slotted the driver's side a small bit is because I want the driver's seat to be in the middle of the steering wheel. There's nothing worse than getting in a car that someone's modified and the seat is not in the middle of the steering wheel. You just don't feel right. And having a car like this, brand spanking new, I don't want to get it wrong, and I want the owner to be perfectly happy with the job I've done. So I'm going to do it properly, and that means that the passenger seat is going to get the majority of the works done, but that's fine. Obviously you're going to probably have one driver a lot more often than you're going to have a passenger, so if the passenger's over a little bit to the left, it doesn't really matter. So front, like I said, driver's seat's all done. Now we're just going to concentrate on the passenger seat. Alright, so here we have the passenger seat all wrapped up and protected. Again, this is a brand new car, and I've got to make it my priority to make sure I don't damage or dirty the seat. It's not my car, and it's got to go back to the dealership. So I'm making sure that that is fully protected. No paint, dirt, dust, grinding, sparks, nothing's going to get on the seats. And like I mentioned earlier, I had already slotted the seat, like what people said online and stuff. Just slot the holes and you'll be good, but I've done that and it's not enough. The biggest problem is the back. The back's inside a channel there, so you're sort of limited. You're sort of limited there to the how much you can slot because of the sides. So this is where the problems are arisen. So I'm going to show you guys how I fix this properly and get it back in. Alright, well, we're just going to start off with removing the seat rails. 4 bolts, pretty sure it's an 11 or a 12 mil socket. We'll get those both off. Okay, we're just going to quickly mark the feet and the rails together. I'm using a paint pen here, and the reason we do this is we're about to remove them, so it's just a good guide to put them back on the same spot, don't get them mixed up. Next, clamp the rails to the bench.
or in the vise or whatever floats your boat. I got the opportunity to use this lovely bench, so I might as well make the most of it. Okay, next step is to grab your grinder and grind down that rivet down the very front there. Grind it down flush. I'm using a cut-off wheel, or you can use a grinding wheel. And then about an inch away from that first rivet is a spot weld. You need to grab the drill and drill out the spot weld. I'm using an 8mm drill to get that out. Once you've drilled them out so they're nice and flush, just give it a tap with a hammer and the pad feet should all come off. Just make sure you've marked them first, remember that, otherwise you'll forget which way they go back on. Okay, so we've got all the feet off. Next step is to get rid of the remaining rivet that's still in the foot. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to clamp it down to something nice and solid, or again you can use your bench vise for this, and just punch out the leftover rivet bit that's still hanging out. I did have trouble with some of these where I actually had to get the grinder and just sand off the top of the little knob there, and then it was so much easier to hit out. So from my experience, probably easier if you just do that from the start. Just get the grinder or sander, just take the top of it off like that, and then just give it a whack. She should come straight out. Just do that to all the legs and we're almost ready. Okay, next grab a 60 or an 80 grit sanding disc and remove the excess paint from around the ends of the rails and the feet, because next we're going to be cranking up the welder. Alright, before we get carried away, let's put the rails back on. Remembering how they came off, just put them on exactly the same way. You don't have to do them up too tight, I suppose, because they're going to come back off later. So just put them back on, same way they came off. Alright, next I'm going to weld up the old holes in the legs. So I'm using a piece of copper plate here, a bit of 10mm thick plate, and I'm simply going to spot weld the old holes up. And the reason I'm doing spot welds is so not to melt the end off the steel. So once she's all welded up, it will be nice and smooth on the other side, because MIG welding steel is not going to stick to copper. You can also use aluminium if you don't have a bit of copper lying around, but it doesn't work as good, as copper is very heat conductive. Once you've let it cool down, you can just give it a little bit of a sand and that'll bring it up nice and smooth. Okay, next you just got to repeat the same process as the back legs, but this time it's probably easier if you did the welding from this side, because that way the weld is nice and flat on this side and you'll be able to grind the messy side afterwards, as it'll be on the raised side. So just copy what I do. Probably wouldn't hurt to have some safety gear on, like some gloves and long sleeves and stuff. I've taken the necessary precautions and removed my watch. Okay, this one here was the back ones are the hardest. I had to put the torch in from one end and look through from the other end and get in there and get that last hole, which is probably the most difficult. But it doesn't have to look pretty. It's under the seat, no one's going to see it. Just welding the holes up so you know it's done properly. Okay, once you've done all four, now get it back on the sander and just sand off all those welds. Also sand up the sides of the legs a little bit and get the paint off, because you will be welding from the sides and it's nice not to have any paint in the way. Also make sure not to remove your little dots there, otherwise you will forget which way they went on. Alright, as you can see, I have masked up the chair a bit better and given it a bit more protection with some cardboard. Stop any splatter going on the table there and rolling under and burning the seat. So if you look close, I've marked a center line on the rails with a pen, and now I'm just using my eye and I'm going to tack on the legs back where they were, but over about 20 millimeters to the left. Any more than 20 mil and the leg will be hanging offset too far off the rail and it just won't give it enough support. So 20 mil max, a little bit to the left, and just make sure they're parallel to the line you drew on the rail, and you're holding the bracket in line, and you're obviously using the right one. So okay, up the top, same thing, same offset. I'm using the old hole in the rail to line up with my little weld hole there, so I get the up and down height right. See how I'm just holding it to the side there, and I can see it's 20 mil over, parallel to the line, and tack it on. I've also got the slotted holes. See, I tried to slot the holes originally to see if the seat would fit, and I found out it wouldn't. So if you guys are doing this without the slotted holes, you'll probably need to be a bit more accurate when you're tacking these on. Obviously the slots are giving me a little bit of play to work with, so yeah. Okay, next up, let's try her in. Grab your chair, be very careful with those tabs. Remember, they're only tacked on, so just be gentle putting the chair back in. Just give them a bit of a wiggle. We are quite lucky with these Landcruisers that the seat rails do move independently. I've put seats in other cars and they actually have a mechanism joining the two together, and they are a bitch. So think yourself lucky here. This is easy. Alright, straight up, first go. Let's see how they look. We are good. Lucky I got the slot there. Probably could have done without it. I really wish I didn't do the slot now, but like I said earlier, I was having a go at slotting them to start with. The front is even better, and I'm really happy with how that came out. So the bolts are definitely going to go in. Okay, so I've missed a bit of footage here. Bloody camera went flat. So what I've done is I took the seat rails off and fully welded them, and then I bolted them back on and did a bit of a test fit just to make sure we've got clearance from the fridge and the pillar. Once I'm happy with it, which I was, I done up the bolts tightly under the seat rail, and now I'm giving it a paint job. Colgate primer is a must, and make sure you get the perimeter around that hole that's been ground out, if you are going to slot the holes a bit, that is. And definitely put some more cover on the chair so you don't get any overspray on it. Once you've done that, let it dry, and that's it. We can put it in for the last time. Okay guys, job's done and the chair's going in for the last time. Just wanted to make a little disclaimer here that I am by no means a mechanical engineer and do not work with the Roads and Transport Authority, so I am just giving you a video on how I did this particular car, and with my 20 plus years in the fabricating experience, I deem this to be even better than the two rivets that it started off being before. So it's done in my accordance of a good job, and I have not altered the seat belt in any way. I haven't even unbolted the seat belt, so I've got nothing to do with the safety factor of the seat, I guess. It literally is just holding your fat ass in it, and yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. And anyone else that wants to have a crack at their own way, by all means go for it, but I think this is a lot stronger than slotting the holes and using a washer. And I'm not really modifying the driver's seat either as much, so I ended up having about a 5mm gap from the fridge and the pillar, which ended up being absolutely perfect, and I'm really happy with how that turned out. Thanks for watching. Please like and share. Cheers.